Good morning and welcome to the Whimsy and Grace Omelet Stitch Guide at Needlepoint Junction. On this video we'll be talking about Kristi's omelet, which is this one. As you can see, there are 3 eggs and 3 gussets. The stitch guide works you through it. There are 3 different ways to have it finished. You can finish just on little legs, and they do a great job because they add some beading around on the gussets and the trim. You could also put it on a lucite stand. Again, there's the gusset. Or you could put it on a wooden up there. So the first egg, which is this one, the flower on the front. The first egg is basket weave and the white in the back. Then the green leaves are worked in just a long stitch. The stem is in a tent. And then the yellow flower is actually a road stitch worked all the way around. The gusset is worked in long stitches, following along in the diamond pattern. Don't worry about the green area if you work your yellow stitch into the green, because you'll go back and put the green on top of it later. And then the green edging on there, on the very edge. The last thing you want to do is add your beads to the middle of this one. And then when you add your beads, make sure you double thread and do your lasso stitch on each one to help secure them so that you don't have to worry about them falling. This one was finished off very pretty. Then egg B is this one with the gusset. So starting at the top is stitched in a tent at the top, alternating the yellow and green. I then laid out some long stitches in one color. I then weaved in and out and just put at the bottom to give it that weaved look at the top. Then you're just tenting on down. If in the yellow area here, if you will do the whole area in no buku and then stitch over your garland on top of it. And then you don't have as much compensating to have to do. You can add beads here. You could do French knots. You could also, across the top, run beads or French knots as well. Then again, do your background. Work your green leaves, stems. The flower is again a elongated Smyrna cross or a road stitch. And then the little dot up above is a French knot. Then working down into mosaics. The gusset on the side is worked again in a mosaic stitch on the outsides. I know that some of them were painted a lot more narrow, and this one's a lot more wide. Another stitch you could use in there, since it is more narrow and you don't see as much of the nobuku, is you could do a diagonal mosaic on the outside edges. And then in the center was just a tent, then the white, and then I went and added the beads. Again, doubling the beading thread and doing a lasso stitch to secure them. And that one's a very pretty one. Then the last egg, number 3, is this one. And it starts at the top, just some tent stitches, comes down into some mosaics. I did do an extra row of mosaics and just left the white differently from the way it was painted. You could also, in place of the white, you could do French knots or do beads. Then I worked down and did French knots. Once I did the background there, just tent, put in my leaves, then did French knots with a bead in the middle of the flowers. Working on down, I did work the blues on either side of that yellow on your canvas. You will cover it with the ribbon. The ribbon's too wide to do 2 stitches to cover it, so if you cover it with the blue, then you go back and put the yellow on top to give it that ribbony basket look to it. And then inside of that is again just a Smyrna cross. The bottom is worked in long stitches to follow the diamond. Again, don't worry about the white because you'll go back and cover it with your outline stitch, adding a bead to the middle. This one you could also just do a road stitch in the middle. I did it on a different egg, and I just did a roads in the middle, and then in the middle of the top, the white parts of the diamonds, I added a bead. So that's an alternative way to do that one, that bottom. Then on this gusset, it is done with a mosaic alternating with a tint down the side with the thinner blue and the thicker green. It gives it kind of a ribbed feel to it, like a ribbon. Some ladies are actually also doing a Van Dyke down the side in place of the mosaic on that one. And then the yellow trim. They're very pretty. If anyone has any questions, you've got your stitch guide, but feel free to also call the shop and someone can give you a hand. Have a great day and enjoy stitching.